reality of it. I believe there are segments of it that need to be challenged because, I have a problem when a government says that you can't vote your conscience. So you're elected by the people. Doesn't matter which party you're in or what your deal is, that we can arrest you if you vote what your constituency puts you in that position to vote. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, they put you there, okay? So your oath is not to those in power. Your oath is to the contingency and also the Constitution. So I don't know anywhere in the Constitution that it gives the government the authority to tell someone that if you vote for this, and this is what your constituents put you there to do, that you can be arrested and charged with a felony. That's a really big problem. I mean, if you think about that, that's a big problem because who determines? So every time you have a flip, because we always have these two-party flips, like, oh, these guys are bad, so we'll put these guys in, and then these guys are bad, and we put the other guys back in. But so who gets to determine? It's like once you do one or two things, the next group does three or four, and then the next group does 5 or 6. And all of a sudden, you've got 4,000 executive orders. So now the executive branch rules by fiat because they're not supposed to have the authority to do all those things. And that's what they do. So the fact that you could arrest somebody for how they vote, that should be a big problem. You know what? And I guess I always say that you accept those things because you pick a side. I'm on this side, they're on that side. And so when you pick a side, then your pride a lot of times doesn't allow you to say, these guys I'm with, they're not doing good either, but I'm not going to say nothing because I'm on that side. Yeah. So if you don't pick a side, I think that if you don't pick a side, I think what you should do is say, you do the right thing on this side. I don't care what color, red, blue, whatever you are. I'm going to say, I agree with that. And same goes here. And it also applies that I will criticize you when you do things that are wrong. But a lot of times when you pick a side, you don't do that. You just become quiet, And a lot of people know, I worked with the Ron Paul campaign for 2 election cycles. And, because the views of that campaign were more diverse, you saw that, you saw how they, this group over here, the guy spoke out, so then he was ostracized by this group. His guys ostracized him because he stepped out of line. And actually he was right, but that challenged their power, and same goes on both sides. So when you pick a side, and that's what I see people that I know that are intelligent that make the most convoluted arguments for why that's okay. But you can clearly say that if that was on the other side, you would be dancing on the tabletop, complaining about how that's not just and that's not right. But, because your side said it, it's okay now. And that's the problem. I don't know if we just lack discernment or, I think pride plays into it a lot. So there is some problems with that. And I called Sheriff Lawson and, just kind of asked on his take on it and what he thought. And, I think we have some of the same concerns. Like, they've showed that there's funding for this, but they haven't said how that funding is going to be disseminated to the communities. So although there are aspects of this that are good, if it's not funded properly, then that falls on the community again, to undertake this huge cost increase. There's not a lot of answers for a bill, and they spend a lot of time, several of these legislators spend a lot of time, aggrandizing their thoughts on it, but they are not answering the questions. How are you going to fund it? How are you going to disperse that funding? And what are going to be our requirements if this happened? There's a lot of unanswered questions. Although I think it's good, I believe that, we have immigration laws, and when you break those laws, at that point you're a criminal. I don't care if you say it's civil, I don't care what you say. You broke the law. Okay, so now we need to have recourse. But, when government passes a bill, you need to be able to say how that bill is going to be funded. And,
Dan, what is this that you're talking about? Like, what is the, I'm just getting bits and pieces here, what you're talking about.
Okay, and let Sheriff Lawson come up and speak a little bit, because he can talk about, basically this bill is going to make it illegal to have a sanctuary city. Now, I don't know that is necessarily a bad deal, except for the fact when you talk about putting somebody in jail because of how they vote.
If you vote for it.
If you vote for it, then that elected individual can be arrested.
Right.
Yeah, that's so unconstitutional. It's
Yeah.
not even a big deal.
Yeah.
That's
one.
I appreciate it. I've read the Chattanooga news, and it's popping all over this afternoon about the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, if you saw it. Austin Garrett has announced they are joining the ICE 287G program. And so are many other sheriff's offices across the state. Don't get me wrong. Have I met with ICE? I have. Are we going to get on the same plane with them? We are, and it's only if people violate the law.
Right.
And because I believe if you came here illegally and you don't have any means of getting there and you're not even trying to get there, then you're here illegally. So if you violate the law, you violate the law. But I'm a firm believer on giving everybody a fair chance as well. But let me tell you how all this started last year. October of last year, we received the passed down law from the legislature about immigration. And what we would do is we at the jail would monitor people. They gave us a checklist of things that what we would need to do, and the immigration report come down. And what we have to do is go through every individual. And it actually states, when a person is arrested, it's chapter 1008, if you ever want to look at it. It says, when a person is arrested, booked, or confined for any period in a jail of a county, the arresting law enforcement agency and the keeper of the jail shall collaborate and verify the citizenship status of the person, and the sheriff shall report the status of the person who they suspect to the DA's conference. So what we have to do on the 4th of every month, we go through, we keep a list, and on the 4th we have to file with the DA's conference people that don't have any proper identifications, and we suspect them of being here illegally. Where that goes from there, it sounds like a good game, but is it really? We got the names, we pass them along, we act like we're really doing something, but I'm not sure we're really dealing with anything we pass along.
So is that a federal law or state law?
That's state.
State law.
We started with state. That's where we first got anything down, was from the state. And we started reporting our numbers, and it gives us a form to fill out on the individuals. Goes through, do they have a social security card or a number? I don't need to walk around.
Oh,
I
you're
can
good.
stay here. A valid Tennessee driver's license, a permanent card, a F1 or M1 student visa. It goes down the list. We have to check all of these. If nobody has these things, we have to fill out this. 4th of the month, we turn everybody in the state. Here's our numbers in Bradley County. October 24, we had 9. November 24, we had 5. December 24, 8. January 12. That's the numbers I have for you. Not that bad. Not what we suspected. If I guessed today, I'd say I got 2 or 3 probably maybe in my jail. Not over that. So we're not covered up. I looked at the other county numbers. Now you get on over to Nashville, Rutherford County, Nashville, the numbers go way up. You get up around Morristown, Hamilton County, on up. For whatever reasons, you can tell different areas have different numbers. The problem was getting sheriffs to report. because they had problems getting about 50 some odd reports. So about half of them weren't reporting, and they've been sending messages down. Of course, we need to get on board. So we are reporting. We report every month. They gave us the guidelines to go by, so we're doing all that. So that was first from the state. And then we began the process, go to the forms. So in a special call session of the legislature this year, they addressed the school vouchers, right? And they addressed the immigration was the two big things they addressed. So Tennessee House Republicans voted overwhelmingly in favor of sweeping immigration legislation right after the first of the year, creating new state enforcement for the state of Tennessee. And that enforcement officer, the head, they will name a head to work with federal immigration, and that will work out of the Department of Safety. And then I think 3 grand divisions, east, west, and middle, with each have someone assigned to work with local law enforcement in those divisions. Now they pushed you to join ICE. ICE was kind of put on hold by the Biden administration. In 2024, definitely. Nobody joined it. In fact, sheriff's officers were pulling out. Nobody could even join ICE to be a member. So now they're encouraging it, and I have met with ICE. They have been to my office. What we will do and the way it will affect local law enforcement is this. If they come to my jail, those people will be commissioned and trained, and they have to go to 4 weeks training in South Carolina, and I could probably send 4 or 5, not at the same time, from my jail. And they will go there and train for 4 weeks to get certified and commissioned through ICE to have the training. And the only thing they will do is process people within the jail that they suspect, and then run them through and make sure and verify or clear them. And then they will go from there and work with ICE. If they're here on any other charges, if they're here on DUI, if they're here on burglary, they will get them when the case is disposed of at the end of their sentence, and they guarantee me within 48 hours they will pick them up, which I would say they will be on their toes. So that's what I know about ICE so far. I can tell you our paperwork is in the works, and we're going to do it. It doesn't cost the county anything. Federal government will pay for all their training, everything, when they have to go to the 4-week South Carolina training. The House Republicans voted creating distinct licenses for non-citizens and making it a felony for public officials to back sanctuary policies. And I think that's what Dan was speaking of, as to if you vote for anything against what one section is saying, it's a crime. Not sure that's going to hold water. Not sure you can do that. It would be like me and Dan being on the county commission and me voting one way. We may not vote the same on everything. We may not vote the same when we walk out of here. But that doesn't make me a criminal nor him.
Well, why do you need a vote? If it's against, why even have a vote?
Well, you know, when a bill, okay, understand that like cities and counties can't pass laws.
Right.
They can pass resolutions.
Yes.
You know, they don't have the authority. All law in Tennessee comes from the state, you know, outside of federal. So, but you can pass a resolution, which could be, you know, if you live in, let's say you lived in Davidson County, which has a, you know, a tendency to be more accepting of you know, the illegal immigration situation. So if someone voted, you know, in a resolution to say that, okay, well, we're not going to turn these people over to the feds. Okay, that's a vote, but that's not a reason to arrest someone.
Right.
I mean, I see these things, and it's like, you know, how far down the totalitarian road are we willing to go?
But didn't the federal government make, or isn't the federal government proposing that sanctuary cities are illegal? Therefore, it's a federal law. Therefore,
Well-
Tennessee is just supporting the federal law.
Yeah, but they're not saying that you can arrest somebody who votes for it. I'm not contesting.
But again, if the federal law says no sanctuary cities or counties, so that's now a federal law. There is penalties for not abiding by the federal law.
First,
So if
Before
somebody,
you can do that, you have to determine, does the federal government have the authority to do that?
well, I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that, but I thought that law, I thought they had passed that law that there were no more sanctuary cities, or is it just that they're not going to get
And-
funding?
There's a big difference between directives and ordinances
Yeah,
and
I
laws.
understand that.
You know, and so like a lot of these things that are passed as directives really have no authority of law. And you know, so the fact that I just find it chilling, the fact that you think you could arrest someone because of the way they voted. That you know, says we slip down this slope of like free speech.
I understand about the voters,
Right.
but if it's a law or if it's a policy, then the person, the elected official should uphold those laws and those policies.
Well,
But
if it's lawful,
that's
and,
probably, that's,
you know,
we need to let the sheriff talk. I mean,
yeah, and policy is drastically different than law.
yeah, I
I mean,
understand.
those are completely different situations.
Most public officials can simply be removed from office for dereliction of duty or failure, to perform the job. I mean, being an arrest, I don't think, I'm agreeing with you, I don't think you can arrest them for how they vote.
Yeah,
This is a felony.
you know what it all boils down to? Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's just do the right thing, and whatever the right thing is, doesn't have to be, common sense will be the law, will lead us in the right direction. My opinion, may disagree with me, but let's treat everybody the way we would want to be treated to do our job. If you're here illegally, you're here illegally, and you violated the law. And when I raised this right hand, I took an oath that I would enforce the laws. Some of the laws I don't even agree with, but I got to enforce the law. So that's the thing to do, to get on the same plane and quit name calling. Quit name calling and do the right thing and put people that need to be in jail or deport people that need to be deported that came here illegally. Do it. And I'm not going out on the streets grabbing people. That's not our job as local law enforcement. Our job is to assist and make sure we do the right thing. And I'll always stand, as long as I'm in office, let's do the right thing. Whatever the right thing is, folks, let's do it. I'm not going to twist your arm to go do something that we shouldn't do, that's outside the scope, or play to anything political. No matter which side of the political arena you're on, this side or this side, stand here and answer and do the right thing. Believe me, you can't have it both ways. Can't. You can't run over here and get them now, if they're here illegally, and get them to come to your house to work. And then go complain about it one street over. Right? We've all got to be on the same plane. Because here's the real deal, and I use this all the time on different things, and tell me if I'm wrong. A lot of people want the law enforced, as long as it doesn't come home to them.
That's right.
Think about it. That's fine. I mean, Johnny does it. I'm sorry, but we're going to come and visit. And that's the way the world we live in today. And the only thing you can do is stand here in the middle of the road and be fair to both sides. And say, I'm going to be fair to you, I'm going to be fair to you, we're going to do the best job we can do. Will I make mistakes? Do I make mistakes? I do. I look at myself sometimes and say, did I really did I do that? Nothing criminal like we have dealt with sometimes. But I'll tell you that if you don't make mistakes, well, you're not working hard enough. And we do a good job, and I will stand by what we do at the sheriff's office. I think we will treat each situation here fairly. Be fair. You have to have a law. You have to have common sense and use the law and move forward. Make sense?
Sure.
What I think. I looked at Tennessee's numbers, and it was estimated at 432,000 immigrants were here. I seen Bill Lee, and now it's projected at 125,000 maybe of those were here illegally. Now I'm going off of numbers that I just saw coming out. I don't know that to be a fact. Don't know how many we have here in Bradley County. Heard that, you know, some instances have happened in counties around us, especially a standoff in Chattanooga the other day that may involve illegal. I worry about if we start running upon those people. You know, our officers are here on a complaint and they think we're there just to get them for being illegal. What are they going to do? Are they going to barricade themselves in the house with a gun and we have the SWAT team there? Or what kind? Because it can put your officers in some bad situations. Does that make sense? So you got to be very careful and soft pedal this whole thing, and make sure we're doing the right thing. But he estimated 125,000 were here illegally, and I'll tell you this: at ICE, the federal guy that came to me and talked to me was very reasonable. He wants us not to overstep our bounds, and he wants us just to assist them, and they will do anything that we can't do inside the jail. That they'll be there in a second to help us. And I really believe that he's telling me the truth, because I do believe under the Trump administration they're going to beef up immigration a whole lot, that they're going to get more on their toes. I read as to where they went from making 420 arrests a day nationwide to stepped it way up, and he expected 1,800 each division. So that will be some heavy deporting if they stick to those numbers. But that's where we're at Sheriff's Office. As far as the state bill, I don't know. $5 million is what I saw, the grants, and you have to be a member of the 287G to receive those grants. If you're not a member of the 287G, you don't receive the grants, local law enforcement. But the only thing I know is, you know as much as I do if you read anything about it, because nothing has been shared with local law enforcement and how that money will be divvied out, or what we can spend that money for. Now, the state has done us some good things at Sheriff's Office, and one of those things is paying for the school SROs. We get the money for one SRO for every school in this county now. That relieved us, they write us a check every year for $1.275 million. Which pays for the SROs. Now, I've been able to go out and buy some equipment, which I have never said anything about, and I can tell you they're trained and they're ready for the worst case scenario. And I'm not going to go out, that's not political, that's protecting the kids the best I can. I can go out and put it on front pages of the Cleveland Daily Banner. Look what, I went and raised the money. It wasn't taxpayers' money that bought this equipment. I went to each individual and got them to sponsor a school. We'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. And raise that money, and they've got equipment and train with that equipment. Now we do buy some equipment from state money, but a lot of it I went out and got donated, which people are really good. Go ahead.
Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Backtracking just a little bit.
Yes, sir.
How does cash bonds play into this situation you have with ICE when they come to your jail and they bond out?
Yes.
Does their then posting bond trump this scenario you have with ICE?
The cash bonds?
When they bond out.
So if they're arrested.
If they're arrested, that's all I understood.
They can bond out. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. There's no enforcement there. I'm not charged. I'm not commissioned to do anything about immigration.
Okay.
Right now, nothing. The only thing I can do is pick up the phone and call ICE. Does that make sense? If we send somebody. All I can do is pass along to the DA's conference. They're still set a bond, generally. They get out, they have to come back to court. They're treated just like everybody else today. Unless ICE calls and puts detainer on them and I have to hold them in my jail. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yes, sir.
But I do not, no state or county officer has any privileges as far as immigration right now.
Well, you said there was an ICE officer. Is that in Cleveland, or is that?
The guy that come to me works out of the New Orleans office and actually lives in Knoxville. So whatever area they cover, I'm not sure.
So where is the closest ICE office? Chattanooga?
Yeah, they have people in Chattanooga.
Okay.
They have people that would respond here from Chattanooga.
And then wasn't there a proposal by the governor to make Tennessee law enforcement officers be involved in immigration?
Just that 287G is all 287G program, which has been laid aside over the years. A lot of sheriffs even pulled out of it across the country. We know Bradley County was never part. There's 2 counties in Tennessee that were originally in a 287G program, and that was Greene County up north and Knox County.
And that
The
meant-
only 2 agencies in the state of Tennessee that had anything to
And
do.
what was that program, sorry? You said it's 287G. What?
287G goes back to the 90s. I think 1996 or something like that when it first originated. It's had its waves, it's went up and down. And then in 2022, 2024, it really started bottoming out. Nobody would join because it didn't have any teeth. There was no teeth. Nobody cared. Nobody. I mean, you saw that nobody cared about people coming in illegally. We got a little tougher on that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, they're trying to put some teeth back in it to get a little bit. I think a little bit at a time, more locals involved in. When they're clearly here illegally, that we can have some avenue to do something about it pretty good, and to include local law enforcement.
Because the 287, that program is a program that the officers are trained, you know, how to function under the directives of ICE. So, and then, like you said, the federal government pays for that training, and so if you don't have that training, then you can run into problems.
Yes, and there is more phases. I'll tell you, I guarantee there are plenty more phases of having one officer. Like they would like to have one officer in each local agency as they go, but they're starting in the jails because I asked the city has not been contacted yet about ICE. You know, I talked to the city chief today. They've not been contacted. But they have been to see me. They have brought me my paperwork, and we have started the paperwork. And I've actually got it to the county attorney, the memo of understanding we have to sign to review. And then we will go from there, and I will start with corrections officers, and then see where we carry on as we go, and be reasonable and be fair to everybody. Make sense? But, you know, I kept reading over the law. The division, the new division they're creating state's going to cost about $500,000 is what they say for the manpower. Keeps everything confidential. So any work that's done as far as immigration, to the sheriff's office, example, they can come pull about anything I've got if open records request, right? Confidential, everything's confidential as far as what they do as far as immigration. That's what it says anyway. It keeps all office, everything in the office confidential. Creating new exempting state open records laws.
Which the TBI is also not under the directives.
TBI, yeah. They can't get the TBI files, but they can get my files.
Yeah.
Now, and they can't get some people's emails. They get mine. They get mine. They get my phone. They get my email. They get all. But sometimes we pass laws, and you wonder why. I'll let Brother David do it. But we are going to be. I'm very open to this. I think it's the right thing to do, as long as we're in the right and doing the right thing. So talk to me. Yeah, you know, I've told you about where we're at. I told you about what we're working on. So if you got any questions for me, I'll try to answer them for you.
Is the jail capacity? I mean, what is?
I told them I couldn't tie them up to the gas pump because today I'm staying right at 480. I have a 510 beds. And so when I took office in 2018, when I walked into jail, I had 583 inmates. And they were all over the floor. I got up to 604 and almost fell out. And we have been able to, when I went to all the judges, I went to the district attorney, and they all every morning get an email of my capacity where I'm at on numbers. I want the law enforcement, the people that need to be in jail ought to be in jail. But not everybody needs to be in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You got me? Mm-hmm. So, how can I say this and be nice? I worked one weekend, I worked hard and my deputies were out and they were serving warrants and they got a hold of one, which is a city case. And they arrested a local businessman on a charge and it was on Thanksgiving Day. And they started calling me, of course, and said, there's no bond. And I said, I've known this guy all my life. I was kind of raised here. I know who he is. If something happened at his mother's house that somebody was threatening him and somebody got a warrant for him and there was no bond. It's Thanksgiving Day. So I start calling people and say, I know him. Any kind of bond he'll probably make, but if he could just get a bond set, which is reasonable. Do it for you, you know what I mean? So, yeah, they set a bond. It was way up there. They got a bond set. I believe in knowing people and paying attention to the situation helps you a whole lot with anything. That makes sense. I believe you got to look and have an open mind on anything. And I believe in helping a person if I possibly can too. Just as much, I walk through the jail, you know, and some of those kids you feel sorry for. You know, even the kids in the pods, and they walk up to me, and one walked up to me, and I thought, how old are you? And he found out he was 13, and he was one of them, if you'll remember, they broke into pawn shops one weekend, and the boys from Texas, and they run and had guns. And you would think he was 12 or 13 years old. I said, son, you can do better. And he was polite as he could be to me. But it's kind of heartbreaking when you go back there sometimes, you know, and you talk to some of those kids. And I told one of them one time, I said, I went back to pod. I got to tell you this story since I'm on that. I went back to pod, and this boy come up to me, and he said, he was one of them, we got breaking into cars in one of the Chattanooga. And he said, I told him when he was in jail, I said, well, listen, I said, next time you come up here to break into cars, if you're going to go break into cars, don't come to my county. I said, go on up there and McMinn County. I seen him back there about 6 months later. He's back to pod. And he said, I thought you got out. And he said, they got me up there in McMinn County. I was breaking into cars. He said, I told him, Sheriff told me not to come back to his county. He's going to come up here. So he went up there. So I had to apologize to the old guy. But it's pretty amazing, and running in jail you see all different kinds of things, all different kinds of people. But we've come a long way. I feel good about there.
My question was more related to if you suddenly get involved, do you have the capacity to take these people into the jail?
I think so with where we're at in the time frame as far as turning them around, because they would be there to the disposition of their sentence anyway. If they guarantee me they'll get them in 2 days and get them gone.
Now, as some of you know, perhaps tell, I'm originally from England, but I've been here totally legally. I've done all of the paperwork, I've done everything. So immigration.
They said it was going to check you, but I won't.
Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead.
Actually, Sunday, 18 years I've been an American citizen on Sunday, the 2nd of March.
Sure.
So it's sort of special to me because I've done everything by the book. And there are safeguards in there by doing it by the book for the American population. You know, I had to have physicals, I had to be tested for communicable diseases and all sorts of other things.
Sure.
So I'm sort of a bit more fired up about it perhaps than other people because I've done it legally. So I have just 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Is there a problem? I mean, we heard some time ago that there was the Venezuelan gang. Is there a problem of Hispanic gangs or Venezuelan gangs in Bradley County? And secondly, we've noticed perhaps there are not as many Hispanic people are out and about, and I don't know if that's really true, whether you could comment on that. You know, if we've been to some stores that normally you see a lot of them around, they don't appear to be there. So I don't know if people are self-deporting, people are going back, whether you could comment on that. So those are 2 questions.
I don't know about the numbers. You may know better than me. I just hadn't paid that much attention. I don't see that much difference in the people we book in at the jail or deal with at the jail. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just talking about you drive like
Yeah.
Georgetown Road, there's a gas station.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the first question again? What was the first question?
The gangs, is there a gang?
Yeah, the Venezuelan gangs.
Yeah.
The TBI come out with that statement. I'm gonna let them answer that statement. Yeah, I'll let them answer. I don't see anything here local, period. The gangs I worry about, those little what was coming from Chattanooga, that are 15 to 16 years old, their mom and daddy don't know where they is. And they come up here to go in your cars if you leave them unlocked in neighborhoods at night, and every one of them's got a gun. Or they'll shoot my dog, if you remember that. You know, and that's where we have to deal with. And that's what I want to stay on top of. Because let me tell you something, it's dangerous out there for the deputies. Because you gotta make a call in just a second. What you gonna do? Pull that hand up. What you gonna do if they put you in a bad situation? Imagine your kid being out there in that patrol car. You know, I said when I ran, if you'll remember, Dan, I said, I want cameras on all those people. Because this is a different world. If somebody gets off the interstate and hits Bancroft Road, and one of my deputies gets shot, and I don't have a clue as to who it was, because we have no cameras, and we didn't. And now we have body cams. I'm trying to get the county commission this time, and I put it in the budget to go along with the better car cameras. We got some cheap ones. The better ones ain't gonna cost that much, and they communicate with this. You know, we get better as you go. But you take care of the deputies and you get them the best equipment. Listen, I got all I need. All I need is my paycheck. That's a deal. I'll take my paycheck and run. But I'm going to fight for them to get them the best I can get them. To make sure they're trained the best, to make sure they got the best equipment. So if you see the budget comes out and it says Steve Lawson's asking, guarantee you'll see what Steve Lawson's asking for. It's going to be for their welfare, to make sure they got the best to combat anything they have to deal with. Makes sense?
And a lot of people don't realize that we bounced around that jail thing for a long time, that if you exceed what the state says that the jail, they can come in and they can pull your certification. So you have to realize that when they do that, those prisoners have to go somewhere to another place, and somebody has to pay for that. So, I mean, I know it for a long time, the jail under the previous administration never fell, we're 500, never fell below 550. Never fell below 550. So you were always skating that they're going to decertify the jail. They're going to decertify the jail. And that would be cataclysmic. I mean, the cost to Bradley County would be huge. Keeping that jail straight is a monumental task in itself, because that has to be a constant consideration. And like you said, there's people who do something wrong, do something stupid, and they've lived here all their lives. Tell them when to show up to court and let them out. They got a house, they've lived here, they're not going anywhere. But when you put them in the jail, then does it become a thing? We got 3 or 4 of those people, but now we've got this guy who shot somebody, but we're almost over. So what are we gonna do? Why don't you just allow those people that have the liberty of, do it to the judge. Let them go on a recognizance bond or whatever, let them out. And that's part of the situation. And the jail, I mean, it takes a while. You don't solve that stuff in a day, but it's much better than it used to be.
It scares me to death something bad's going to happen. Fentanyl's the worst thing I ever saw. I was in methamphetamine, had the Red P labs making meth, and I thought, I'll never see nothing worse than that. And you get the fentanyl, oh my. And I've had ulcers. The other night, I had to go to the hospital. One of my officers had arrested somebody on a warrant, followed him in the bathroom. He was smoking fentanyl, didn't realize it, got in the car, and the officer goes down.
Oh, wow.
The officer's out. And so there he is, overdosed himself. The corrections officer tries to get pills out of somebody's mouth, a girl's mouth coming in. She touches them. 15 minutes later, she's gone to the hospital. She's overdosed. You know, it's sad. And I had to learn when I went in office, I better get some better gloves. It's penetrating my gloves, folks. I got to have fentanyl resistant gloves, which cost about 3 times as much. But you got to, I had to learn this, a lot of stuff on the run. I knew a lot about law enforcement, but I didn't know all about this drug takeover that we were going through and the different things you had to deal with. But it scares me every day, something bad. I put fence around that jail, you can come and look. And they have given me the money, but they wanted that thing to look like Holiday Inn. I told the mayor, I said, Mayor, this thing can't look like the Holiday Inn. And then go up the windows. They were coming up to my windows in the sails, drilling with heat guns, drilling a hole and putting a straw in and putting drugs through. And that's about, and I got them coming up to the doors that were exposed, putting stuff through the locks in the doors, and them on the other side pulling it through on the video. And I'm going, folks, it's time we put a fence up so we can't get to those places. So we have got it up. It seemed to help a whole lot. As it cut it out, put body scanners in. Since I took office, we put body scanners. Now my people are not radiologists; they can't see everything, but we try to find some. And you know, you try to get better as you go. But I could have something bad happen as I walk out of here at that jail, and they say, Sheriff, we brought one in, they beat their drugs on the way to jail, didn't realize it, and CPR is in progress. It's going to happen. The world we live in today. Go ahead, questions?
Staying on your daily intake,
Yes, sir.
they counted part of the census that you gave us of 480? You know, people get arrested today.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I get it every morning, 7 a.m. every morning, whatever the count is at that time, is they give me that count. They send it to the judges, they send DA, they send to everybody to know what that count is.
50 or 60 maybe, you know, going home that day. Or
Yeah.
50 or 60 coming
During that
in.
time, it's 7 a.m., 7 a.m. is when I get my numbers, or everybody gets their numbers.
Is fentanyl the greatest drug concern in Bradley County?
Absolutely.
Do
Absolutely.
you think the actions of the border patrol and immigration
You would certainly,
is going to help? Or are they going to start making, I know that the DA come to visit, he said he's worried that you were going to start making meth again.
yeah, well, it could go back to meth. I mean, they could revert back to meth if fentanyl becomes scarce and you shut off their avenue of support. So, yeah, it could go back to meth, or who knows? Who knows where these people go? I never understood how anybody could ingest something as such in their body. Don't know how that ever gets started. I just don't understand. But I've seen some of that stuff made over the years, the whole labs, have to contaminate the whole house, the whole building. And how do you do that? And then you come to fentanyl, touch it, and it'll put you out. Car fentanyl, worse than it. We haven't seen much of it around here. But, you know, it's really sad. It's sad some of these people get on it too. And good people's families. I mean, there's good people right here that we know we got their loved ones in jail. I go back and check on people. I mean, I know people in that jail, and I just do. And they come from good families.
Like where you got your inmates attending schools and.
Yeah, we do. We got welding classes. We try to set up through Cleveland State. They're good at working with me, and I think they'll tell you the same. We work well together. We got HVAC.
I can hire some HVAC people.
We got electrical. We're going to start an electrical class.
Yeah.
We got welding. We're doing different things. We got a fork truck class, which will be set up over there. They've got the date set up. I think it's coming up at the end of the month. Into next month, into March, we start the first class.
Yeah.
I'm just going to mark it off over in the corner of the parking lot. We're going to do fork truck training. They're going to get their license before they get out. Listen, if you help them and you feel good about giving them the opportunity, if they don't take that opportunity and run with it, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Does that make sense?
How's the ministry doing over there?
It's good. I think it's top notch. I think we have them in all the time, and we cater to them pretty good. Make sure that they get what they need. I mean, I'm big on floors shining and making sure things get cleaned up. And I'll tell you what else we got. We got tablets. I never thought I'd see tablets, an inmate with a tablet as long as I share. But that's until I got fentanyl in on mail and my officers held it. And laced on the mail, fentanyl. Started to come back positive and they were getting it on their hands. So now they got a tablet, and let me tell you what it does do. It helps with discipline problems. Disciplinary problems have went way down, and they can take the tablets and entertain themselves. They have the opportunity to see free movies. They have the opportunity to buy some if they got some money on a concert. It's up to them. They make phone calls. They talk to a loved one now on the tablet. They get so much time, which is not a bad deal. But I guarantee they come in, they go back in their crates at night. They escape out till that afternoon, go back in there. They have to charge out the hallway. As long as the cell, the pod is cleaned up, everything's done in the mornings, they can get them back. It's not a bad thing.
Did you meet and know Teresa Oglesby? Did you know her?
Do I?
Did you know Teresa Oglesby, Pastor Oglesby?
I know the name, but I can't place it.
She ran a halfway house.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know who she is. Yes.
Yeah, she passed away, and I don't know if somebody came in and took her place, or doing the jail ministry.
Yeah.
Working with the police.
But anyway, I kind of got off immigration. Ask me some questions. If you got anything about immigration, I'll try to answer.
When are you next up for election? When is your cycle?
Next year.
Next year? I thought it must be. Yeah.
What can we do as citizens to help with what's going on in the county?
I would think just batting officers, that's what I say. Go pull the TBI stats. Let me brag on my people a little bit.
Okay.
Now, I had them under me as detectives. When I was over detectives, they laugh at me and said, now if you work for Lawson, you better go find that weed eater they stole, because he believes in stealing from somebody. But when you go in somebody's house, it's bad. They might pass a body they shot, but he ain't worried about that as much. If they break into Dan Raw's house today, you better go give everything you get to get them. Because I'm more of the old school, mixed in a little bit with the new. I'm not the smartest man at the sheriff's office. I'm not the smartest man. I got people over there smarter than me. But you know where to put those people, surround yourself with those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And am I going to run again? Yeah, I'm going to run one more time. They said, you going to run again? I said, yeah, I'm going to run one more time. Probably after that time, and they say, don't say it, but that's probably be it for me. I've worked since I was 13, started Gibson's Discount Center, if you remember Gibson's Discount Center. And I've never had one of them government checks, and I said, I kind of want one. but I've been blessed, and I'm blessed to have this job. If I ever really don't want this job, I need to be out of it. Because to do a good job, you've really got to want the job.
Have you got somebody else wanting that job?
Oh, well, there'll be several of them, I'd say.
Sheriff, I'll brag on you on that point. I'll brag on you. When
Yes,
I was at the DA's office.
Yes, sir.
And the tornadoes came through.
Yeah. Yep.
You persecuted those looters with prejudice.
yeah.
Did very well. We got them off streets pretty quickly.
I appreciate it. I believe in trying to do the right thing, and I'll stand by that. So.
Yeah, and
How's
anybody,
Robert doing? Where's he at?
I see him every once in a while. He's at Home Depot. Last time I was just having something to do.
anybody who would steal from somebody's house who was
Yes,
standing-
absolutely. You can't stand
That's
it.
the bottom feeder. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the.
It's normally someone you know, isn't it, that steals from you.
Not really. I mean, we've had them come from Knoxville, and the funny thing is, back when I was over detectives, and I was like this one, I was riding this boy from Knoxville around. He was showing me what they'd broke into down there, and had stole a bunch of those zero turns. And I said, I ain't never afford one of them zero turns. He said, you'll stop down here, I'll get you one. I said, no, I'm gonna think we'll pass on that. How's that? But we laugh about that all the time. Good deal. Anything else for me?
Where does the money go from Tennessee Sheriff's Association? What are you using that?
It goes to Tennessee Sheriff Association. 5,
Do you get
I
any-
have signed, I'll tell you this much, one of the best things they do
Yeah.
is scholarships. And what they do is any employee at the sheriff's office can put in for scholarships for the kids the first 2 years of college.
Yeah,
And they will give them an amount, whatever amount they have. They play with the amounts, but I had 5 this year. I just signed the papers. That's one of the things they do. They will give them money, $500 to $1,000 generally, whatever monies they have
this,
in the scholarship.
your sheriff's department get any?
No, directly I do not, but it goes through the state, and I was sheriff of the year in 22,
Yeah,
and they've really been good to me, and I back them. I've just been in the legislative committee all day today about new laws, what we need to back, what we don't need to back, you know, and, but I like the Sheriff's Association, but if you're asking about the mail out, that's what you're asking about.
yeah.
I did not, it's got every sheriff in the county has their name on it.
Yeah,
It wasn't sent by me, it was sent from them.
right.
But they do, let me give credit where it's due, they do stay in contact with me, and they generally get me about anything I need.
Okay,
Make sense?
yeah,
So I can say that.
thank you.
Anything else? Thank you for having me.
No, we're glad you came. Appreciate it. You're always very responsive on requests, so that's a positive. Well, we're trying to have, this is part of what this group does, is that we, want to have you meet the people that are appointed, generally elected is preferable, and those people come in and talk to you, and that you make your own decision about what you're hearing. Is that legitimate, or is that what they want you to hear? Or and we have a voters group also. We do the Bradley County Voter Guide, and when we get into that, we have anyone that speaks before the group, they will answer a questionnaire. And of course, that questionnaire will be constitutionally leaning. And so that we have, you wrote this. This is what you said you would do. And then at some point, if you don't do that, then we're going to call you out and say, you said this when you're running, but you did this. It seems to be a problem, And so, I think that type of accountability is necessary. You have to have that. We live in a world where people, allow their emotions to dictate what they do, and that's really not a really good thing, because your heart will deceive you, and that's in Scripture. So that's the problem. So if somebody knows you're watching them, they're more likely to do the appropriate thing, or what they ran on, And if you can clearly tell me why you changed, this is a reason, and this reason isn't self-serving, then we have a point of discussion. You shouldn't alienate people just because they don't agree with you, because that's kind of like the guy who doesn't want to talk to you when you confront them on what they're saying. They want to shut you up. I much prefer to let people talk, because people that are deceitful, the more you let them talk, the more you're going to find out that they're deceitful. And so I think that's important. Let them talk. Let them say what they want to say. Record it. But and that's what we should be doing. That's Scripture tells us to be the watchman on the wall, and occupy till he comes. So what is that? Well, you're watching what's going on. You know what? This is a good guy. This is a bad guy. This guy, always says this, but always does that. And that's what we should be doing. That's how you keep these things from getting out of control. And I think we need to do more of that. And when we have guys that are people that are doing a good job, we should stand up for them and say, hey, you know what? You may not like what he did, but that's because it may affect you personally in some manner, but in reality, it was the right thing to do, just because you don't like it. And we can have that discussion. It's not a big deal. And we can agree to disagree, something that doesn't happen much anymore. We can agree to disagree on something. People's personal
interactions and things that they've gone through in life are going to skew their view on things. I mean, that's going to happen, you know, and we just have to understand that. But I think as a community, a diversity of ideas sometimes strengthens your argument, because, you know, if you're never challenged and you're just spewing the same rhetoric, and then somebody challenges you and you're like, what about that? You know? But, you know, when you're defending that, you know, and you're making your point, I think that you become stronger in what you're saying, and that you know, and if you're consistent in what you're saying, people will recognize that. They may not like you for that, but they do recognize it, you know, so. But if anybody got any questions, we appreciate you coming. If you have any friends that weren't able to make it, we'll put this up on YouTube. It'll be on Wake Up Bradley County, and probably have it on the Bradley Constitutionalist website, Facebook page also. So it'll be available to anybody that couldn't attend. But we appreciate you coming, and you know, we're moving into a big election cycle in 26. There's going to be a lot of turnover. I've told a lot of people this, that, you know, there's a lot of turnover over here. You know, there's a sheriff's race, there's a mayoral race, there's county commissions all up, half the school board is up. You know, you got a trustee race, you've got a register of deeds race. All of these things are coming up, and you know, these are things that are important. These are the people that are running the government, and that we should be responsible for that, and take a look at what they're doing, and recognize these people, and let them know, hey, you know what? Do what you say you're going to do the right thing, and you know, we'll get along. But you know, if you don't, we're gonna be making requests about, why did this happen like this? What is this? The crown jewel of everything, the open records request. You know, I mean, that's you know, that's perfect. You know, I mean, and I believe all agencies should be under that, including the TBI, including this new agency that you know, I don't think you should be able to open records request an ongoing investigation. You know, you shouldn't be able to do that. But once the investigation is closed, that should be available to everyone. I mean, and when it's not, one has to question, like, why? You know, even if you know, the appearance of impropriety is a problem. Even if nothing happened, just the appearance that it could, you know. And I think that's what, you know, community involvement, you know, keeps the community strong and keeps the community more honest. And that's what we should be doing, you know. And somebody said something about removing people. But if you're a constant... I think the states, this is my opinion, the states should have anybody who's elected, they should be susceptible to a recall. Because that's the way to get people out of office. You shouldn't have a guy that's constitutionally elected and then some bureaucrats can come in and remove it. You shouldn't do that. What should happen is that the people who put them in, let them vote. You know, have a recall vote. You know, have whatever the criteria for that recall vote is. And do it that way. That's the appropriate way to do it. You know, because when you're constitutionally elected, no one that's appointed should be able to come in and say, no, we don't like you anymore, you've got to go. That's not how it should be done. You know, so always a recall, and Tennessee's not the greatest on recall stuff. You know, there's people that can't be recalled. I think you should be able to recall a mayor, you should be able to recall a county commissioner, you should be able to recall the sheriff, anybody should be, you know, that's elected should be open for recall, you know, because that's what they were constitutionally elected.
Well, then, I want you to consider that if they're embezzling money, or
I'm not saying.
doing,
I'm not talking about
to do their job, then there needs to be a more immediate process.
Okay, but I understand that if they commit a crime.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying that. You know, because in most incidents, someone that is arrested for a felony, there's going to be an outcome that way. I'm just talking about somebody who, you know, doesn't do what someone likes. You know, and there's a big difference between rules, policies, directives, and the law. You know, and I mean, I've dealt with that personally. It's like, well, that's our policy. Well, yeah, but you got to understand something. Your policy is not law. You have no lawful authority with your policy. Your policy only affects those within your group. That's your policy. Or if I come into your place of business, this is my policy. That's private property rights. Absolutely. You can make me leave. Sure, I don't have a problem with that. But your policy doesn't, when it goes outside of that boundary, your policy has no effect on me. Because it's not the law. You know, a directive the same way, you know, all these things. You know, oh yeah, if you're arrested, you know, I don't have a problem with suspending somebody or doing any of that stuff. You know, and then, but there again, you got to convict them before you can remove them. You know, I mean, that's right? I mean,
everybody's entitled to due process.
sure,
Praise
absolutely.
the Lord that we've got it in this country.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I mean, innocent until proven guilty. I mean, that's a huge personal protection for anybody who gets into any type of situation. You know, you don't have to prove yourself innocent. They have to prove you're guilty. And that's the way it should be. You know, because my personal opinion is that it doesn't, I would rather have 5 criminals go free than 1 innocent person go to jail.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's kind of the thought process. You know, what you can accuse somebody of and what you can prove is a big different thing, you know.
Something that the group might want to be aware of, there's a meeting being held by Andrew Morgan, a local General Sessions judge, at the Justice Center on March the 11th at about 8:45 in the morning is to discuss access to courts, you know, for civil suits. He's trimmed it back a little bit to 3 days a month, holding it on Fridays instead of Wednesdays. So what he's going to do is he's inviting people who are interested in civil cases come and talk about how to solve problems the court's having, whether it needs to establish more dates, fewer dates. I'm concerned about that myself. I'd like to see go back to the regular 4 times at least a month, be able to even have more access than that. Property owners, you know, if somebody stole his turnaround lawnmower and he wanted to be able to get it back, he could call the sheriff and report it. I don't know how fast the sheriff can actually go get it back. It may involve the Sessions Court judge if the man produces some kind of note on a napkin about the mower, or whether it's a civil case or criminal case. He wants to go to court and get his mower back. Does he have to wait 2 weeks or a month to get to court to be able to get an order? You should be able to go get the action in court ought to happen fast. And I think that, you know, when you close the courts, whether you do it because of a pandemic or whether you do it because, you know, they just don't want to do it on every week, or they don't want to do it, make it available daily. Closing the courts to this person is denying them the right to their property, and it is a taking of their property rights. I mean, when do you want your mower back?
And it's also, I mean, it's a constitutional,
Right?
that's a constitutional violation because you're denying their redress of grievances.
Exactly.
You know, so
even
that's
if you
a-
want to come to the Justice Center, the Juvenile Justice Center, which is the old jail over on Johnson Boulevard, you know, March 11th, 8:45 a.m. Come on and tell the court about it.
Everybody good?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sheriff Lawson, thank you, sir.